So if we bring this history on forward into the 20th century, James Luther Adams, who was one of our great 20th century theologians and social ethicists, he wrote a lot about covenant as foundational to our tradition and to the tradition of liberal religion. He said, what is it that we promise each other? This is foundational to how we come together in the free religious community. And another way of saying that, what are our most important shared loyalties? It's part of the obligation, part of the faithfulness of congregants to each other to try to define these qualities that bind us together. And you'll recognize this language from James Luther Adams. It's from one of our responsive readings. He said, I call that church free, which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence, that sustaining and transforming power not made with human hands. It binds together families and generations, protecting against idolatry of any human claim to absolute truth or authority. This covenant is the charter and responsibility and joy of worship in the face of death as well as life. This is a very useful foundation when you're starting to talk about covenant. In addition to the videos that Renee was pointing to, the history vignettes, you can also then take this covenant itself from the hymnal when you're presenting these ideas to the congregation. John Burens, past president of the UUA, also makes the point that sometimes it's tempting to, when people talk about covenants and also when people resist covenants, to talk about them as if they're just a bargain that we make with each other. Well, I won't do this if you won't do that, or if you'll stop doing that, then I'll agree not to do this. And when people respond to the idea of covenant with resistance and say, we don't need that, or that treats us like we're kindergartners, they're often thinking like this in this bargaining idea. But the point that Burens makes is that a covenant has greater import, that it's a deep agreement, but it's reflecting our values, but it also comes back to this idea of what is greater than ourselves that holds us together. For some might use the language of grace to talk about that being greater than ourselves. Some might refer to that sense of interdependence that's greater than our individual parts that holds us together. Someone else might say, well, these are the things that we are accountable to, that we hold each other accountable to. But the idea is that covenanting is a deeper experience that we create among ourselves far beyond a superficial bargain. Then I think we have some ideas from Alice Blair Wesley, who also her monograph about covenant gives really nice history back to the Cambridge platform, also gives examples of some of our covenants over time. She uses the language of loyalties and says, are we today in our congregations taking the time to discern our most important loyalties and loves, like those Puritans and Pilgrims clearly did when they risked everything in their bands, to small bands of people, to come covenanting together to a new country. That's the level of depth that she feels like we should be reaching for when we create our covenants today.